Hello, readers. Welcome to reading class with me, Miss Taylor. I am so glad you're here. Alrighty. So let's see. Are we ready to read? Do we have our textbook? Do we have a bookmark or our finger to follow along, to track as we're reading? Workbook? A workbook here and a pencil. All right, some things we're going to remember. We're going to remember to track with our finger. Read each word carefully. So paying attention to each word and all the letters in each word. Paying attention to end marks. So when we're reading, when we see an end mark, that is where we pause. A lot of times we take a breath and then we keep reading. All right, some of our goals today, we're going to read with accuracy and expression, which means to read carefully, and then expression means to add some feeling to your voice. And we're going to understand what's happening in the story. We're going to make connections to characters' feelings, and we're going to enjoy the story because today is our last story about Umu and Ulak. So we're going to find out what happens with them. In our last story, they were sort of being rescued by Usk. So I really hope he was able to rescue them completely. So let's think about how they must be feeling. They're probably feeling really relieved in the last story when Usk came in the water, and when they took off their shoelaces or their laces from their boots, and they kind of made a rope or a leash, and they looped it around Usk's neck so that he could kind of pull them through, and they were like, play sled, Usk, go home. And I'm trying to think of what that would feel like, to be really relieved, but also kind of nervous because they're not home yet. Alrighty, so we're going to keep thinking about making those connections, thinking about how would that feel to be that character? How would I feel if I was on an ice chunk drifting closer and closer to some killer whales? And then my friend, who's a polar bear, came to rescue me. Whew. All right, we're going to visualize. So I know last time when we were reading, I was really painting a picture in my mind of Umu and Ulak on that ice chunk and just holding on, and what that would have looked like and what that would have felt like. So visualizing is like painting a picture in our minds. We're going to ask questions like, I wonder what that would be like. I wonder if their shoelaces or their bootlaces are going to hold up. They're going to be strong enough to get them back to shore. I wonder if they're ever going to do this again. Remember this whole thing, like their dad told them to stay away from the ice chunks. All right, so we're going to kind of summarize, tell what happened. So every time I pick up a story, if I'm reading a chapter, our chapter book, and then I kind of think back like, wait a second, what happened last time? And I summarize for myself. I kind of tell what was happening in the last chapter or the last part of the story. We're predicting, we're synthesizing, getting new information, coming up with new ideas, and we're doing lots of inferring. And inferring is just a fancy word that means figuring things out. So our vocabulary sentence, and this actually relates to our next story that we're going to read about something that smelled. Our new vocabulary sentence is the smell attracted flies immediately. Whew. So what word, second graders, means right now? Yes, immediately. Right now. Immediately. What word means really interested? Attracted. Yeah. So something smells really bad. It's very interesting to the flies. The smell attracted flies immediately. All right. Let's go ahead and open to lesson 22 in our textbooks. And lesson 22, we're going to read our last story. We're going to find out what happens with Umu and Ulak. But before that, we have a little information passage that again has to do with our next story. And the information passage has to do with piles and sort of layers of things. And that will relate to the layers of the earth that we're going to learn about next time. All right, so let's take a look at lesson 22. So it's on page 109 and column 1. So please use your finger or a bookmark to track along with me. Word 1 is Mesozoic. What word? That's It's a fun word to say, Mesozoic. Word 2 is dinosaur. What word? Word 3 is skeleton. What word? Word 4 is triceratops. What word? And word 5 is Tyrannosaurus. What word? Oh, are you predicting what our next story is going to be about? Dinosaur, skeleton, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus, Mesozoic. You're probably getting some ideas about what our next story is going to be about. Oh, I should mention, when you're saying that last word, word number 5, you can say Tyrannosaurus, you can say Tyrannosaurus. Either one is fine. All right, let's try the fast way. Column 1. Mesozoic. Dinosaur. Skeleton. Triceratops. Tyrannosaurus. Nice job. Column 2. All these words have endings. Word 1 is earlier. What word? Word 2 is muklux. What word? I like that word. It's a fun word to say. Muklux. Word 3 is wavy. What word? Word 4 is gulped. What word? Word 5 is gently. What word? And word 6 is ode. What word? Nice job. And column 3. Word 1 is figure. Word 2 is sight. Word 3 is rose. Word 4 is dove. And word 5 is wrist. There's your wrist. It connects your hand to your arm, your wrist. Alrighty, let's go ahead and find part B in our textbooks. And like I mentioned, we are going to find out what happens with Usk and Umu and Ulak. But first, we have an information passage. It gives some facts about piles, so kind of piles of things or layers of things. All right, so please follow along with me. Piles. Here's a rule about piles. Things closer to the bottom of the pile went into the pile earlier. So that rule again, things closer to the bottom of the pile went into the pile earlier. Makes sense? Here's a pile. Which thing is closest to the bottom of the pile? So if you see the picture, which thing is it? Yeah, the shoe. So the shoe went into the pile first. All right. So we know by looking at this picture that the shoe went into the pile first because the shoe is at the bottom. The shoe went into the pile before the bone went into the pile. The shoe went into the pile before the cup went into the pile. Everyone touch the book and the bone. So touch the book and the bone. Which object is closer to the bottom of the pile? Yeah, the book. So which object went into the pile earlier? The book. Nice job. Look at the cup and the bone. The cup and the bone. Which object is closer to the bottom of the pile? The bone. So which went into the pile earlier? The bone. Look at the pencil and the rock. Pencil. Which object is closer to the bottom of the pile? The pencil. So which object went into the pile earlier? Nice job. The pencil. The rule tells us that things closer to the bottom of the pile went into the pile earlier. Use this rule to figure out which object was the last one to go into the pile. What object would that be? Yeah, the rock. Nice job. Use the rule to figure out which object went into the pile just after the shoe went into the pile. So which object went into the pile just after the shoe? Yeah, the book. Use the rule to figure out which object went into the pile just after the pencil went into the pile. The knife. Nice job. All right, and like I said, this idea is going to help us with our next story that might have something to do with dinosaurs and the Mesozoic era. All right, let's find part C, everybody. Oh, we're on page 110. Usk and the killer whales. Oh, is Usk going to be able to rescue them? I think so. I hope so. All right, let's find out. Fingers ready. Usk and the killer whale. When Usk began to swim toward the shore, he moved with so much power that he almost pulled Umu and Ulak off the ice. They leaned back and dug their heels in. Oh, remember that from the last story? They were digging their heels in so they didn't fall off into the water. They hung onto the laces as hard as they could hang on. Umu looked over her shoulder. She saw a terrible sight. Ooh, what terrible sight do you think she saw? Probably a killer whale, very close. One of the fins was moving toward them. The fin rose out of the water, and she could see that the whale was looking at them. Its mouth was open, and she could see the row of knives in its mouth. Did it really have knives in its mouth? No, what were the knives? Teeth. Ah, the teeth looked like knives. They're so sharp and pointy. She clearly saw the wavy black and white markings on its body. Then it dove into the water. Its fin disappeared, but the whale was moving very fast. Quickly, Umu tied the laces around her wrist so that she had a free hand. With that hand, she slapped the ice. Maybe this sound will scare it off, she said to herself. Oh, please go away, she said out loud. Please. She looked into the water, and suddenly she saw the huge form of the whale pass under them. Her heart was pounding so hard that she seemed to shake all over. She kept looking down, but she didn't see anything for about a minute. Then she saw the whale roll out of the water about 5 meters in front of them. All right, so the picture shows this part of the story. How close is the whale to the ice chunk? About 5 meters. So if you stretch your arms out, that's about 1 meter, 5 meters. And how does Usk look? He looks mad. He looks mean. He looks like he's protecting them, which he is, right? He's rescuing them. He's saving them. All right. So let's keep reading. The bear made a growling sound and pricked up his ears. For a moment, Usk stopped swimming. Then he continued. Oh, please go away, Umu repeated to herself. Again, the form of the great whale moved under them, making a slight turn to the right. Umu continued to slap the ice with her hand. Ulak was saying something, but Umu couldn't think about that. She thought about one thing, that whale. She could only think about one thing, that whale. Suddenly, the whale rolled out of the water behind them. It seemed to be turning away toward the other whales. Please go away, Umu said. Usk swam. Umu and Ulak held onto the laces, and Umu kept looking behind to see what the whale would do next. Suddenly, she saw it roll out of the water again. It was more than 60 meters from them. Because before it was only 5 meters away from them, and now it's 60 meters away. Whew. That whale was moving toward the other whales. Whew. All right, and then we see a few dots in the story, and that means a part of the story is missing. Or some time has passed. The mosquitoes were terrible. So were the biting flies. So if the story is telling about flies and mosquitoes, where is Umu now? On the shore. Oh, that means they made it. Yes. There was no breeze at all, and the bugs were thick. But Umu didn't mind. She and Ulak had to stay near the tent. So they were near the tent now. Why do you think she had to stay near the tent? Yeah, she was probably being punished again. Umu and Ulak couldn't go on the slopes or down the path to the beach. They couldn't play. Their father had told them they had to study the sky and the ocean so they would not make the kind of mistake they made before. So remember, the mistake was that they hadn't watched the sky. So now they have to study the sky and the ocean. It's like you must study the sky and the ocean so that you never make that mistake again. That mistake of going out into an ice chunk and not watching the sky or the ocean. When you look at the sky, their father had told them, face into the wind and look at the place where the sky meets the land or the ocean. Okay, so they're supposed to look at where the sky meets the land or the ocean. Oh, and there's a name for that, where the sky meets the land or the ocean. It's called the horizon. So when you study the sky, you have to kind of face into the wind. So the wind is kind of coming at you this way, into the wind. And that way, if you're looking into the wind, you will see if there's clouds coming. So if there's kind of a storm moving in and you're facing the wind, you'll be able to see it coming. The day was peaceful, with the wind blowing gently from the ocean. Umu watched the sky and the ocean. From time to time, she looked at the killer whales. Ooh, they're still there. She wondered what that whale had thought and why it hadn't attacked Usk. She's wondering, I wonder why that whale didn't attack Usk. Remember, they were really close to the whale? I suppose the whale could have tried to bite Usk in the water. You will never understand the whale, an old man of the village had told her. So whales are kind of mysterious. That afternoon, everyone in the village gathered at Umu's tent. Wonder what they're going to do at Umu's tent. The people formed a great ring, made like a big circle. They sang. Then Umu's father led Usk into the middle of the ring. Women brought him a large smoked fish, his favorite food. He gulped it down and wagged his head from side to side. Then Umu's father took blue paint and painted the outline of a whale on each side of Usk. He's painting the outline of a whale on each side of Usk. Everyone, look at the picture on page 111. What is Umu's father doing? Yeah, he's painting a whale. Read the rest of the story to yourself. Find out what was going to happen to Usk. Find out if Umu and Ulak were allowed to play with Usk. Go ahead and finish reading the story. If you're not finished reading, pause the video. So let's think about some things that Umu's father said would happen to Usk. So no one would bother him, and if he was hungry, people should feed him. They definitely should make sure that he doesn't get shot, so they're kind of protecting him. So he says, let no hunter shoot this bear. No one should bother this bear. If the bear needs food, we will feed the bear. In other words, they're very thankful to Usk for saving Umu and Ulak. And the people of the village are kind of very happy and cheering and dancing and sort of thanking Usk. And Umu and Ulak, would they be allowed to play with Usk? No. Let's look at the picture again. Do the people look happy? Yeah, look at their faces. They're happy and cheering. So they're thanking us because he saved the children. They're showing their gratitude. Ooh, that's a prudent thing to do, isn't it? Showing gratitude. So they're very thankful to us. Ooh, they made it. I don't think Umu and Ulak are going to make that same mistake again, do you? So maybe we can think about, this is our last story about Umu and Ulak, so we can make some connections about times that obviously we've made mistakes, just like Umu and Ulak when they decided to not listen to their dad and they went out on the ice chunks that were sort of close to the edge of the ice floe. Maybe you can think about, a time when I've made a mistake and I know I haven't done the right thing, and then we feel kind of ashamed of ourselves. Maybe you have felt a sense of relief now that they're back on shore. Something very dangerous happened. They got so close to the killer whales. And now they're feeling like, oh, I'm glad that's over. It's like a feeling of relief. So maybe you can make a connection with how they're feeling that way. Or also at the end of the story, they are feeling such gratitude to Usk. They're trying to thank Usk. They gave him some fish, his favorite food. They're singing and dancing, and they're just expressing their thanks. So maybe you can think about a time when you have felt very grateful to someone or something, maybe even a pet who has helped you or saved you. There's lots of stories of pets or animals saving people. And then try to express your gratitude. So if you think about if there's someone in your family or one of your friends who you feel grateful for, tell them. All right, so that is it for today, students. The rest of your job is to reread the story one more time and answer the questions at the end of the story. And then you're going to complete your workbook page. And then you're going to read for 20 more minutes. And that's it for today for our reading lesson. Let's see, our workbook page is 39 and 40. So on page 39, there's some questions about piles. And then the next page, there's some questions about the end of our story about Umu and Ulak. So again, kind of making some connections to how the characters feel and what happens at the end, and they're expressing their gratitude and their thanks to us for saving the children. And then next time we get to hear our next story. And I think you're going to like it. It's kind of a fun story. So have a wonderful rest of the day, readers, and I will see you again soon. Bye.